You are looking live at the fourth floor studio in Lancaster Newspapers, or as live as you can be with a video. This is the Low Post. This is Eric Stark. This is Mike Gross. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We got a couple different topics we're going to chew on today. First one, Joe Paterno, Mike, and I am curious. You were just there at his house. How is his hydration?
That's one of the first things I actually said to him last night was we want to make sure that you're hydrated tonight, Joe. And he was.
Good.
He was very well hydrated. And, it's this annual thing where they invite us up there. We have this little cocktail party and then a dinner, and then we actually go over to Joe's house for dessert and drinks and things.
Does Super Paterno make them food?
Super Paterno makes the desserts. Not the dinner.
But the desserts. Wow.
The desserts. And they are really, really good. Raspberry cheesecake.
Nice.
Outstanding.
Anything cheesecake.
Yeah. And last year she made last year was the only other time I've done this, and she made some other special cheesecake deal, which was equally good. She's very, very, and her daughters and daughters-in-law are helping her, but still I think she's doing most of the actual baking. But anyway, Joe is, he's 81 years old, and as we were referring to with the hydration thing, he had an incident where he was hospitalized last week, I think Thursday, with dehydration. They did tests on him. He was at the hospital for most of the day. The very next day, he flew to Austin, Texas, and did a speaking engagement.
What a trooper.
And he's 81 years old, and it just has this unbelievable energy. And he did a speaking engagement at night, Friday night. And the next morning, he got up and like 8 o'clock in the morning, he spoke to boosters at a breakfast thing. You can say whatever you want about Joe Paterno, and there's lots of things we could say positive and negative, but the guy is a dynamo for 81 years old, and it looks like he's taken off some weight. He's gotten to the point where now he was getting to the point where he was a little paunchy, and maybe it was affecting him a little bit with leg injuries and things that he's had. He's lost a lot of that weight, and he looks pretty good. He looks pretty healthy, and he was in good spirits, and he was being goofy as he sometimes is. I feel like I'm betraying the trust a little bit if I tell stories about the actual stuff he said, because it's obviously supposed to be off the record. It's very informal, and it's just supposed to be fun, and it is fun. But he's something else for 81 years old.
You say he's lost weight. Now, how is his 40 time now? He's a little faster.
He's explosive.
Good.
He's explosive. You know what it is? The fast twitch muscle fiber. It'll never go away.
Wow.
He was born with it.
He can elude the.
He came right out of Brooklyn with that stuff.
Good stuff. Well, we don't want to reveal. So that's one of those things he used to do years ago. The old-time reporters always used to talk. Bill Fisher, who retired here at the Sunday News Sports Center, talked about those gatherings he used to have.
And he actually has returned to that. The Friday nights on the road, when they have a little suite set up, and he'll come in, and a lot of that stuff is really hilarious. But again, it's not to be shared, unfortunately.
Good stuff. Joe is the only coach I ever know at Penn State. He doesn't seem to go away, and I'm fine with that right now, okay? A story that's out there in the media, football related, that doesn't seem to go away, and I'm fine with that right now, too, is Spygate, Mike. Bill Belichick, the New England Patriots, we all know it's well documented. We're videotaping games. We always thought it was defensive signals, but thanks to maybe Arlen Specter, our senator, we now know there's offensive signals, and it seems that the NFL keeps trying to cover this up, and more keeps coming out. What are your thoughts with Spygate? Do you want it to go away? Should it be going away? Well, am I making too much out of this?
I think it's reasonable to say you're tired of hearing about this. I think everybody's kind of tired of hearing about it.
Sure.
But should it go away? I mean, we're talking about real significant cheating by a team that has been the top pro football team of this last couple of years, certainly this decade that we're in the middle of now, I think that the NFL should have come down harder, should have suspended Bill Belichick, because that's where it would really hurt. That's where it would really hurt if Bill Belichick had to go away for a while, because he clearly is the guy who is responsible for this. Not only that he did it, but that he obviously has lied about it. I mean, even one of the things that he said was he thought that they misinterpreted the rule, and we were videotaping for use in future games. We were not using the videotape strategically in this particular game, and that's kind of his excuse. Yeah. And Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, came out with the same party line last week. Come on, I mean that's just weak. That's lame.
They've been doing it, it's documented now since 2000. Originally, they didn't think that happened. They thought it was just an isolated thing, and more and more keeps coming out. Since 2000, well, they've won 3 Super Bowls in there, all by only 3 points.
Right.
One of those to my Philadelphia Eagles, a team I watched in 1980. I'm rooting for a Super Bowl.
There you go.
They lose by 3 points. Is that one play difference in the game that maybe makes a difference? An extra first down, a little closer in that last drive that Donovan was hacking on. We don't know. We will never know. I also think I don't want Bill Belichick in the same category as Vince Lombardi or Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll even. These guys were great Super Bowl coaches, and Bill Belichick, after what he's done, I don't think should be in that same category. Do you think this diminishes what New England's done, Mike?
Yes, I do. Diminishes is not the word I would use. I think taint is the right word. I think it taints it. I think it taints the Patriots' legacy, and I think which is something that Tom Brady ought to be mad about. I think because it's I don't think it's his fault that to have his legacy sort of have this little asterisk behind it, and certainly Belichick's legacy. I agree with you. I don't put him in the absolute first rank of NFL coaches in history. I don't think he merits that, and I do think that we're at the point now where this is a central part of the way he's going to be remembered. I think if it's not the first sentence of his bio or God forbid obit or whatever, it's going to be near the top, and I just think I think justifiably so, and interesting. This is one of those things that's interesting from a media standpoint too, Starkey, because the single biggest change in sports in my lifetime, I believe, is the proliferation of media, and so that whenever you have a story like this, there's a certain number of people who are going to say, I'm tired of hearing about it. Just too much. I'm sick of it. Let's move on. I'm tired of hearing about it. Other people are going to say, other people are New England Patriot fans who are going to, they're going to try to sort of wriggle out of full culpability for it. And then you have people who are going to say, well, everybody cheats. Don't be naive and that sort of thing. Another thing is when a politician gets involved, as Arlen Specter has become, people naturally roll their eyes. So there's all these little leavening factors that have to do, I think, mostly with the proliferation of media, which cause people to kind of not fully grasp or not fully acknowledge the real wrong that's going on here. And it's just a simple matter of right and wrong. So that's what's interesting about it from a media standpoint. But I think you need to kind of step back and say, this is bad stuff. This should not have happened, and people should be punished for it.
It's an integrity issue. You give a media stance. How about a fan or a player? 14 years and 50 pounds ago, I used to play some sports, Mike. Played some football, played a little bit of baseball. And I know with playing baseball, if I could catch the third base coach and maybe what his sign was before he gave, what his key was before he gave the sign for bunt or something, or if I noticed that the left-handed pitcher would lean a certain way before going to first, I would let my teammates know. Or in football, if the lineman was, as I mentioned earlier, would be on his hand a certain way, I knew it was going to be a running play. Or if he's back a little bit in his stance, it's going to be a passing play. Those are things you pick up.
That's part of the game.
That's part of the game.
That's not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
It actually is not illegal in the National Football League to figure out the other team's signals. If you could do it, that's not the point. The point is the videotaping is an underhanded and inappropriate way to do it. But you can try to figure out what the other guy's trying to do. That's basic to the game. That's why Andy Reid does this.
Yes.
Because he doesn't want anybody reading his lips.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's not what we're talking about. But this sort of using technology to just spy on another team, I just think it's ridiculously inappropriate.
I agree with you. I'll tell you what, I think the other teams must be spying on Brett Myers. They must know what pitches are coming in right now. Here's a guy, Brett Myers, Philadelphia Phillies pitcher who is struggling. Spring training, he was 3-0, looked really great, low ERA. If something happened opening day and it's carried through, he's now 0-4 on the road. 2-5 overall is his record. Interesting stat. Did you read this one, Mike? The Phillies are 3-7 in his starts and 21-15 in all other games. This guy is supposed to be the ace. Him and Cole Hamels. What's going on?
Well, number one, he's not the ace, and he never was. Cole Hamels is the ace, and that was just sort of a little political thing to make him the opening day starter. I suspected that maybe he was going to have a difficult time transitioning from being a closer to being a starter again, and I think that's mostly what's happening here.
Why is that?
Well, it's just such a different mindset, such a different approach. I think that I'm not quite as worried about this as maybe some other people are. If you look at his stats in detail, his strikeout walk ratio is still pretty good. A lot of times when pitchers go through bad stretches, you can look at the batting average on balls hit in play, which is a sort of an esoteric thing, but there's some evidence that's that's to some degree luck. And he's just going through, and his batting average on balls in play is like 320 or something like that. So maybe he's just going through a stretch where he can't, where he's just having one of those bad luck rolls. I also think it's possible that maybe he needs to look at changing his regimen, changing his off-day regimen. They say he doesn't like to long toss. Maybe he needs to long toss and make it more of a throwing specific training regimen in order to keep the velocity on his fastball, which supposedly has gone down a little bit.
Yesterday, 91-92 of his fastball. Say Monday, he played against the Nationals on
and actually pitched pretty well. The Phillies just didn't hit.
But he didn't have any inning in the game. He went 6 innings where he got through it with 3 batters and out. He had some jams, but I think it's encouraging that he only gave up 3 runs. That's a game he could have got a win for if they had some offense as well. They lost 4-0. So I think he's going to come out of it. But I'll tell you what, it's one of those anomalies this year. It's what happened to Brett Myers.
Yep.
Another baseball topic I want to bring up that bothered me over the week. I'm just sick of it. It's been going on since 1997. Do you know what the first interleague baseball game was? Who played in it, Mike?
I do not.
Did some great research here. Hopefully you like it. June 12th, Texas Rangers hosted the San Francisco Giants. That's what kicked it all off.
Well, and we know what a magic rivalry that is.
Oh, that's my point. There's these contrived rivalries. Why is Toronto Blue Jays and the Philadelphia Phillies a great rivalry now? It used to be the Orioles and the Phillies, but then now we have the Nationals so close to the Orioles, they make that the rivalry. I'm tired of interleague play. I think it's done its course. Maybe you bring it back, every 5 years or so. But this unbalanced schedule, I only get to see the Pirates, another Keystone team, once a year in Philadelphia, and only once a year do I get the chance, it's already happened, to go out to Pittsburgh and see that beautiful stadium out there. Rivalries like Seattle and San Diego, I don't get it.
Well, a couple of things. I have been, over the course of interleague play, I have been a proponent of it. I thought it was a good idea. And you talk about rivalries. Well, the Washington Nationals and the San Diego Padres is not a magic matchup either. But you got to play those games in the National League. That's not really so much the issue to me. But I do think that maybe it has run its course. Maybe it was a novelty for a while that maybe has worn off a little bit. And there is a problem in baseball, I think, with unbalanced schedules, where people play. A good example is sending the Red Sox over to Japan to play regular season games. That's ridiculous. And the great variety in competition that teams have to play within that interleague matchup is I think baseball sort of takes for granted that nobody cares much about strength of schedule in baseball. You never hear people talking about that much. It's not as big a deal, obviously, as it is in football, but it's not nothing either. And I think baseball has kind of gotten sort of playing fast and loose with the idea of a balanced and fair schedule in order to create this sort of novelty in interleague play, which has really run its course. Now, Major League Baseball will say, well, look at our TV ratings. Well, I think that's a little deceptive for a couple of reasons. Number one, you have the Mets play, let's say you have the Mets play the Yankees. Well, if the Mets average 40,000 a game and the Yankees average 50,000 a game and they play each other, they're not getting 90,000 people at that game.
Right, yeah.
And it's the same thing with the TV numbers. I mean, those are two teams that have a huge TV audience. When they play each other, they're not like adding those two TV audiences together. Same thing with the White Sox and the Cubs. So I think the numbers, the Nielsen rating numbers, are a little deceptive, and the attendance numbers are deceptive. The Nielsen rating numbers are always deceptive because the Nielsen ratings are one of the biggest frauds in American life. But I just think the numbers that baseball is pointing at to sort of rationalize this are a little bit deceptive.
Let me give you a couple numbers quick. over the weekend, they drew 1,552,000 fans. I mean, they did a phenomenal with their rivalries this weekend. Saturday alone was Major League Baseball yielded its biggest one-day crowd ever. You know, you count all the teams together, 600,000 fans one day. It's the highest total. Sixth largest draw all time. Okay, but it was the best for a Saturday since they've done interleague play. Some records. Philadelphia Phillies, 86 and 98 in interleague play. I don't think they're doing very well with that.
They're not.
The Orioles, another local team, only an hour and a half away, 79 and 114. The two best, I'm not counting the weekend games in this, but you add a couple games if you want. The A's and Yankees, best records, 113-79 for the Yankees, 113-81 for the A's.
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. The Yankees and A's have been consistently good for most of the interleague play era, so that makes some sense. But that's the Phillies have been pretty good too. And
up until from '97 to 2002, they did a NL East played the NL, the AL East. It
seemed a little more sensible.
But you're playing the same teams then, Mike. So the Phillies were playing the Yankees or the Red Sox, just like the Mets had to play them. Now you get the Phillies playing the Blue Jays. The Mets get the Yankees. You can see. I don't know. You can tell. I'm not sure who's got the better matchup there right this year. But
supposedly, I think they are trying to factor strength of schedule in scheduling these games somehow. I think they're trying to do that, but that's not really. It's not just strength of schedule. It's consistency of everybody in your division playing the same teams. That's a big part of it too.
And the other thing that's interesting is the American League right now is a little bit stronger than the National League. Now, this last weekend, the National League did pretty well. They were still 19 and 22 in interleague play over the weekend. They still didn't come out ahead, which puts them now, since they've started doing this in '97, they're still 100 games behind the American League for wins.
Yeah.
So that shows you American League's stronger right now. So it's not to the advantage of a National League team to be playing this right now.
I'm not sure the National League is as far behind as they've been in the last couple of years, which maybe is a topic for a future show. A future edition of the Low Post.
Tune in for that.
There you go.
We want to talk a little bit about professional basketball. We're winding down the season, down to 4. And we had some great second-round matchups. Now we've got what everybody thought was going to be the matchup in the East. I think the Celtics playing the Pistons. The West, the Spurs, they are the defending champion, and they're back there fighting for a chance to repeat. They got the Lakers. Who do you like in these matchups, Mike?
They're both really tough calls, and I think it should be a great series. I like the Spurs a little, and I like Detroit a little bit too. So I may be taking the Las Vegas underdog in both cases. I don't know that that's true. The Spurs are. There's a lot of respect for the Spurs out there. I'm sure David Stern is hoping I'm wrong because I know that from a show business standpoint, a Celtics-Lakers final is very, very desirable, and it certainly could happen. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But the Spurs can put Bruce Bowen on Kobe, and that's a better answer than most teams in the league have to Kobe Bryant. It's not a great answer, but I think with some of the injuries up front that the Lakers have, Tim Duncan should be able to have a good series. I like the Spurs a little bit there, and I just think, again, looking at matchups, I think you can put a Tayshaun Prince on Paul Pierce, who is really the creator and the go-to offensive player for the Celtics. And I think the Celtics still have issues. They still have some, mental and emotional barriers to get over. So I wouldn't go out and bet my mortgage on either of these deals, but I like the Spurs a little, and I like the Pistons a little. Do you concur, Stark?
I'm the exact opposite.
Okay.
It's hard to go against the Spurs because of what they just did in the last series. They got blown out every game in New Orleans, and they blew out the Hornets in every game at home in San Antonio, and yet Game 7 was in New Orleans, and they took it to the Hornets and beat them. They won a game on the road. It may have been playoff experience tends to be ridiculously overrated, but it may have been an issue in that specific situation. It may have, but I'll tell you what, I've been impressed with the Lakers all year long. I think Kobe's played through back spasm and everything else that he can handle Bruce Bowen. The intangible for me is Paul Gasol. The way he's been playing down low, and then you add Lamar Odom to the mix. I love the Spurs. I'm going to pick the Lakers there. And when it comes to the Pistons and Celtics haven't lost a game at home. I think they can take one on the road with the Pistons, and they get to move on. So I'm saying Celtics, Lakers. Exact
Fair
opposite
enough.
actually. But
fair enough. We could not be more diametrically opposed. So one of us has to be right and the other one has to be wrong. That's probably good for the low post.
yes, we should have some more controversy like that. NHL hockey kicks off. A little bit sad right now because the Flyers are out.
They're done.
They lost to a team
They're vapor. They're a ghost.
Was
They're
impressive.
history.
The Penguins were impressive.
They were.
That Sidney Crosby and that Malkin, they got some players. They got some offensive weapons.
They really do have good offensive players.
And they're going against Detroit Red Wings that I'm so sick of hearing about and talking about. They're making their 23rd appearance in the finals. I think they're going from number 10 maybe for Stanley Cup, trying to win in their 10th. You got some notes from Chip Smedley earlier.
Our Sunday News hockey expert Chip Smedley gave us just a couple of things because neither Starkey nor myself are hockey experts.
If I wouldn't have said his name, were you going to claim these as yours as an expert here?
Absolutely
or were you going to be truthful? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I frankly don't want to be known as a hockey expert.
Okay. Just want to make that.
But anyway, he to sum it up, he just likes defense and he likes experience and he likes the Red Wings for that reason. Detroit needs to skate with the Penguins, which is a hard thing to do because they're a very skilled team. Good defensive matchups on Crosby and Malkin, who are both guys who head their own lines. You know, they're not on the ice at the same time. And the Penguins' goalie has been very, very hot. Fleury has been very, very hot. So I guess he's, thinking that that's not going to last forever. He's not a great goalie. He's just a solid goalie. Smedley, who you must bear in mind that Smedley is a goalie. So maybe he's going to think in these terms, but he likes defense, he likes experience, and he likes the Red Wings.
That minor factor.
There you go.
You sounded very intelligent with your hockey coverage there.
Who am I trying to kid?
We're not trying to kid anybody. We just think we know something about sports, and if you like it, tune in next week. Again, from the Low Post. He's Mike Gross. I'm Eric Stark, and for our producer, Paul Frantz, we'll see you again from the Low Post.